Okay, we will continue our discussion on SI engine, and we will continue our discussion basically the SI engine injection system, and then we will discuss about the energy distribution, rather heat transfer in the engine. So, we have discussed that mechanically operated injection system, where we have seen that using an external source like electric field, we can excite the solenoid, and when solenoid is excited, solenoid coil is excited, the plunger, a magnetic plunger was there, that is attracted and that lifts by an amount 1.5 to 0.15 millimeter, and then fuel can go. I mean, if we can try to recall the drawing, that whenever solenoid is excited, it allows the magnetic plunger to get attracts magnetic plunger, and then the spindle lifts by an amount 0.15 millimeter, and through which fuel is introduced into the intake manifold. And today now we will discuss about that what is electronically control unit. I mean, through using an electronically control unit, because even though we have a mechanically operated injection system, that is, if we excite it using by controlling the pulse of the excitation, pulse duration, which is around 1.5 to 10 millisecond. Injection time, critical injection time for automobile engine is which is 1.5 to 10 millisecond. So, by exciting the solenoid valve, solenoid coil, we can, that is, by changing the pulse duration, we can control the solenoid coil excitation time, and then we can control the amount of lift of the spindle, and we can control the amount of fuel being discharged into the intake manifold. So, now we will briefly discuss about what is electronically control unit, that is ECU, that is electronically control unit, that is ECU. So, what are the components of this unit and how it regulates the fuel injection system? I need to draw. So, I have basically so that is piston. Now, and this is valve. So, this is electronically controlled unit, and of course, this is operated by battery. Now, this electronically control, what is the input of the electronically control unit? We have a cooling water jacket. So, this is cooling water jacket. If we have a temperature sensor over here, that information is, so this is temperature sensor. Temperature sensors, and that is one input to the ECU. Then if it is intake, this is intake port. So, I am writing this is intake port. So, we need to provide, we may have a sensor over here. So, that is again, that is temperature T, and also we may have a throttle valve, we have throttle valve, and that throttle valve opening also is given. So, this is throttle opening, and finally we have a pressure, that is pressure. P, this is temperature, T, and these are the input signals for ECU. So, these 4 are the, so these 4 So, these are the input signals for ECU, electronically control unit. So, this is spark plug, and we need to supply fuel. So, we need to supply fuel here. So, maybe this is fuel pump regulator, then we have is a filter, fuel filter, this is fuel pump, which is taken from fuel tank. Now, this regulates. So, if we have excess supply of fuel, then we will be having provision. So, return back of the fuel into the fuel tank. Now, this fuel is supplying fuel here, and so whenever you are supplying fuel, that what is the amount of fuel that will be supplied into the intake manifold through injection system, that information will be provided by the electronically control unit ECU. So, here we will have one input signal, and that signal will come from the electronically control unit. So, I will discuss in detail. So, that is the information. Now, if you would like to supply fuel over here, if it is a, then also here we may have, again that information will come from the ECU, electronically control unit. So, these are actually very important. So, what we have seen, that here see the amount of fuel that will be injected into the engine cylinder, that depends upon the load and also the pressure, temperature of the air at the intake manifold. So, also we are having one sensor at the cooling water jacket. So, we will discuss that cooling water jacket function is to maintain the temperature of the cylinder wall to a specific value, otherwise there will be a thermal cracking. So, now the input signal to the ECU is pressure, temperature and percentage throttle of the intake manifold. That means, what is the pressure and temperature of the air which is being introduced into the cylinder, also the temperature of the cooling water jacket. So, this is cooling water jacket. The spark plug, is very important. We have drawn spark plug. This is distributor. We have seen that we have distributor rotor or distributor cam if it is a multi-cylinder engine, and that the timing of the spark plug that also will be connected with the ECU. Now, sensing the pressure, temperature and throttle opening is very important. So, in the speed density system, the primary input. So, the primary inputs into the ECU are the output from the manifold pressure sensor, engine speed sensor and the temperature sensor installed in the intake manifold to monitor the air temperature. So, that means the input to the ECU are the pressure sensor output are the output from the manifold pressure, intake manifold pressure, engine speed sensor and temperature of the air in the intake manifold, right, and essentially to maintain the air temperature. Engine block sensor, we having on engine block sensor to maintain the water jacket temperature. So, the sensor connected with the water jacket, we need to maintain the water temperature, the cooling water temperature. Now, why we need to that to monitor the water jacket temperature, the letter being used to indicate the fuel enrichment during cold start off and warm up. So, we are having, I am writing that in the ECU, rather I can write the primary inputs into the ECU the primary inputs into the ECU are the output from the manifold pressure sensor, are the intake manifold pressure sensor, right, the engine speed sensor, and the temperature sensor, installed in the intake manifold. Installed in the intake manifold and the temperature sensor installed in the intake manifold to monitor the air temperature. We have another engine block sensor, we have another engine block sensor to monitor the water jacket temperature. Water jacket temperature, and this is required to indicate the enrichment requirements, the fuel enrichment requirement, to indicate the fuel enrichment requirement during cold start off, during cold start and warm up, during cold start and warm up. So, very important. So, this is the electronically control unit where we are providing the input signals which are coming from the intake manifold as well as the engine block sensor. So, from intake manifold we are taking throttle opening, pressure and temperature. Based on the pressure, temperature and throttle opening, ECU will provide information to the fuel regulator, will provide information to the fuel regulator to supply the required amount of fuel. Now, the spark plug is also connected to the ECU, because we have seen that because it is very difficult, we need high voltage from a very small low voltage battery. So, we have a electric circuit. So, the distributor of that spark plug, which is again connected to ECU, to indicate that in which if it is a multi-cylinder engine, then where the spark will be, in which cylinder spark is needed. Now, we also have one we can see from the diagram again that if we, because we do not know, pump is used to supply fuel from fuel tank. So, we will have a fuel pump regulator of course, but again depending upon the temperature and pressure of the air, if the requirement of fuel is less at that condition to get the desired output from the engine, then the additional fuel being pumped by the fuel pump will be taken back into the fuel tank from the fuel regulator. Now, and that is again sensed by the ECU. So, in ECU is receiving some signals, based on that signals it is providing signals to the fuel injector that okay fine, this is the amount of fuel that will be supplied at that condition to essentially to have a better fuel economy and efficient combustion. Finally, we have one engine block sensor that is connected with the water jacket, and this is required to indicate fuel enrichment requirement that in the cold start and the warm up condition, because cold start we need to supply more amount of air. So, what is the temperature inside the cylinder that time, that is being sensed by the ECU, and that information is provided by ECU to the fuel regulator to supply additional amount of fuel. So, with this complete my discussion about the SI engine injection system. Now, I will move to discuss about the heat transfer in the engine. So, what we have seen that so far we have discussed about the combustion, ignition system and also as well as the injection of a SI engine. So, that we have seen that we get energy in an internal combustion engine from the combustion. So, whatever the amount of energy is produced during combustion, that is essentially it is an exothermic reaction. So, the heat is being produced, 35% of heat is converted to get the useful crankshaft work. So, I can write that heat energy distribution. So, mostly the energy produced from the combustion reaction now 35% of the total chemical energy that enters an engine in the fuel, in an engine in the fuel, in an engine is converted to the useful crankshaft work. So, only 35% of the total energy which we are getting out of this combustion reaction is converted into the crankshaft work, and near about 30% of the energy of the total energy is lost from the engine from the engine during exhaust in the form of enthalpy and chemical energy. So, we can see that 35% is converted to get the useful work, 30% is lost, but 30% energy is 30% energy is carried away from the engine by the exhaust gas in the form of enthalpy. So, near about 25 to 30% energy which we need to transfer from the engine through the to the surroundings. So, remaining 25% to 30% energy, 30 to 35%. So, 25% to 30% energy needs to be dissipated to the surroundings by some mode of heat transfer. Some mode of heat transfer. So, 30 to 35% of the total energy is converted into the in the form of useful crankshaft work, remaining 30% is lost because of by the exhaust product or exhaust gas in the form of enthalpy, while 25% to 30% that is remaining, that must be dissipated to the surroundings by some mode of heat transfer, conduction, convection or radiation. Now, that means engine cylinder. So, we can see that 30% energy you need to transfer. So, material of the engine cylinder, that is why you need to have a continuous supply of coolant, maybe air cooled or water cooled, that is we have discussed a long back. So, material, I mean temperature within the combustion chamber of an engine reach values of the order of 2700 Kelvin. So, that means we have seen because of this temperature within the combustion chamber of an engine, temperature within the combustion chamber of an engine reach values which is of the order of 2700 Kelvin, because now question is, if the material of the cylinder material is not able to withstand this temperature, that cylinder that material fails quickly. Question is, whatever it the case may be, maybe if we have a good material that can withstand, that can we can have the lifetime of that cylinder is very high. On the other hand, if the material cannot withstand this high temperature, that cylinder or the engine chamber fails very quickly. Now, as I said that 25 to 30% engine 25 to 30% of the energy of the total energy must be dissipated into the surroundings by some mode of heat transfer. So, either maybe convection, mostly convection, or conduction or radiation we will discuss, but there are in general two methods. There are two methods used to cool the combustion chamber engine. So, that means we need heat transfer from the engine, right. So, that means we need to take away 35% of the total heat to the surroundings by some arrangement. So, there are two methods generally used to cool the engine combustion chamber. Either water cooled, so there are two, so that means heat will be transferred from the engine, there are by some mode of heat transfer. There are two methods in generally used to transfer or cool the engine combustion chamber. One is water cooled engine surrounded by a water jacket or air cooled engine that has extended surface on the block over which a flow of air is directed, air flow is directed. So, either we have a water cooled engine, that is what we have seen a few minutes back, that if it is a ECU, I mean we need to know the temperature of the cooling water jacket, and sensing the temperature of the cooling water jacket we need to supply more amount of air during cold start and warm up condition. Or if we have a air cooled engine, so the outside the cylinder will have extended surface and we can direct air to flow over that surface, so that we can cool the engine. So, these two are basically the cool engine. Now, if we talk about energy distribution, this is very important. So, what is energy distribution? That is, we have seen that total power generated, so that will be some amount will be W shaft work plus Q dot loss plus Q dot exhaust, because some amount of energy is leaving exhaust, plus W dot accessories. So, that means if the total power generated by the engine is W dot shaft, it is brake power or it is indicated power, because brake power we are taking the power which is available in the shaft, whereas indicated power is the power that is produced on the piston face. So, brake power is lesser than indicated power by an amount, or that is to overcome the frictional losses, whatever it is. Now, the total power generated can be distributed in these four categories. So, W dot shaft is the brake output of the crankshaft. So, W dot shaft is the brake output power, rather brake output power, that is a power we get, brake output power of the crankshaft, power of the crankshaft. W dot accessories is essentially the amount of work that we take to run accessories like pump used to supply coolant and all those things, that is power to run engine accessories. Sometimes we need to run air conditioning system, we need to run air conditioning system, we need to supply coolant, we need to pump water. So, those accessories are run, and the requirement of power to run those accessories is the W dot accessories. Q dot loss is the all other energy lost to surrounding by heat transfer. So, loss of energy to the surroundings by heat transfer, and Q dot exhaust is the energy lost in the exhaust gas flow. So, exhaust gas flow there is a loss of energy. So, these are the total energy distribution. So, maybe the amount of work we are getting, amount of power we are getting in the engine, that partly is used to 35% used to get obtain the shaft work, 30% is lost to the exhaust gas flow. There is a loss of energy by heat transfer, that is again 30% and some part of the power is used to run the engine accessories. So, these are the total engine distribution scenario, is a distribution engine. So, now we have seen that we need to supply, we need to transfer some amount of heat by some mode of heat transfer from the engine cylinder, engine block to the surroundings. So, what will be the, what are the modes? Now, very important, either it may be conduction or convection. So, there is heat transfer in the combustion chamber. So, heat transfer in the combustion chamber. So, once the air fuel mixture is in the cylinder of an engine, there are three modes of heat transfer: conduction, convection and radiation, that is what we know. So, all these three modes of heat transfer play important role for this steady state operation. Sometimes we have some phase change, but normally conduction, convection, radiation. Therefore, all three modes of heat transfer is conduction, convection and radiation play important role for smooth and steady operation. For smooth and steady operation of engine. So, these three are important. There are other modes, but these three are important. If I now try to draw that if it is a water cooled engine or if it is an air cooled engine, fine. So, if it is a liquid cooled engine or air cooled engine, water cooled engine. So, maybe if I draw another temperature. So, this is the temperature of the cylinder wall, right. So, now temperature of the combustion product or temperature of the gas is very high, it may be of the 1000 degree, then that wall it is Tw and that is again very less, and now there is a conduction from the in the wall, then finally we will have again loss to the surroundings and this is Tc. So, this is Tc. So, this is Hc, this is Hg and if it is delta x. So, if the thickness of the cylinder wall, so this is cylinder wall, cylinder wall thickness is delta x, combustion temperature 1000 degree Celsius, from that we get temperature at the wall, it is near about 190 degree Celsius, then it is Hg and then finally we are having temperature at the whenever we are getting outside, it is near about 105 degree. So, this is coolant. So, now we need to supply coolant at the outer wall and coolant water will take away the heat from the wall and then it will try to maintain the wall temperature to a specific limit. But question is, inner surface of the wall is always needs to withstand or to face the highest temperature of the combustion product, and that is why that material will be able to withstand that. On the other hand, if it is a air cooled engine, if it is an air cooled engine, suppose we have air cooled engine. So, maybe we have thin surface, so we have So, all these are fins. So, this is air flow, right. These are fins or extended surface. The same thing is happening, maybe T z is 1000 degree and then it is coming at the wall, maybe it is T w is equal to 190 degree, and then this is H g enthalpy, and this is the combustion chamber. This is the combustion chamber. Now, this is combustion chamber, this is combustion chamber, and this is fin. Now, from here there will be a conduction up to the fin surface, then from fin surface there will be again convection, and ultimately we will get a constant temperature T air, that is to 25 degree Celsius. So, this is T coolant, this is coolant temperature. So, this is air cooled engine, and this is water cooled engine. So, we have seen air cooled engine and water cooled engine. So, temperature of the gas and combustion start is already a convection heat transfer to the cylinder walls. So, there will be a convection heat transfer. So, gas is there inside the combustion chamber, there is a convective heat transfer from the combustion product to the cylinder wall, there is a conduction within the cylinder wall, and from outer surface of the cylinder wall again there is a convection either to the coolant or if it is air into the air. So, we have seen there is a conduction and convection, and sometimes also radiation plays, because if the temperature is so high inside the combustion chamber, then there will be some amount of heat will be transferred because of the radiation. So, some of these so convection and conduction are the main part of heat transfer mode to remove energy from the combustion chamber and keep the cylinder walls from the melting. Now, from this we can see that convection, if the temperature is so high, then sometimes there is a radiation, but convection and conduction. So, the similarity is there in case of a air cooled engine. So, from within the combustion chamber, so there is a convective heat transfer to the cylinder walls from the gas. So, from inside the combustion chamber there is a convection up to the wall, heat transfer to the cylinder walls, and then within the wall we are having conduction. Again from conduction or extended surface we are having continuous supply of air, that is air cooled engine. So, from there again we will have a convection and heat will be dissipated. So, in case of a water cooled engine or air cooled engine, we have seen that convection and conduction, these two modes, these two are the main heat transfer modes to remove heat from the combustion chamber. And keep cylinder walls from excessive heating, which in turns may leads to melting. So, that means if we do not have proper coolant, supply of coolant, proper heat transfer from the cylinder walls, there might be a situation that there will be excessive heating within the combustion cylinder walls, which in turn will try to melt the engine cylinder. Now, during the combustion, as I said that the gas temperature might goes of the order of 2700 degree Kelvin, and therefore, we need an effective heat transfer to reduce the temperature to reduce the cylinder walls from overheating. So, continuous supply of coolant, and so that a continuous heat removal will be there, because peak temperature might go of the order of 2700 degree Kelvin. If we do not have proper or continuous supply heat transfer from the engine cylinder or walls of the engine cylinder, then it may leads to overheating of the engine walls, and which in turn would may help melting of the cylinder. So, this is what is the heat transfer in the combustion chamber. So, normally convection and conduction are the main heat transfer mode, but we we cannot ignore even the radiation, because sometimes radiation is there because of the high temperature, that is 2700 Kelvin. So, now as I said that heat, we need to we have continual removal of heat from the engine cylinder. Now, what are the effect of engine operating variables on heat transfer? So, I mean size, speed. So, I mean what are the effects of engine operating? So, effects of engine operating variables on heat transfer. So, basically engine size, first one is engine size, is very important, engine size. So, if everything is remaining same, two geometrically similar engines of different size, different displacement. So, geometrically similar engine, that is cylindrical in shape, but two different displacement are operated at the same speed and all other variables are remaining same. Everything is remaining same except their displacement, their displacements are different. The larger engine will have a greater absolute heat loss, but will be more efficient if the temperature and material of the both engines. So, as I said that if we have two geometrically similar engines, but their displacements are different, and if the speed and other conditions are remaining same, the larger engine will have a greater heat loss to the surrounding, but will be more efficient. Similarly, we have engine speed. So, engine size, larger engine, those are geometrically similar, but displacements are different. Larger engine larger engine will very important, will have higher heat loss. This is important. Engine speed. So, if the engine speed is increased, gas flow velocity in and out of the engine goes up with a resulting rise in turbulence and convective heat transfer coefficient. So, if we increase the engine speed, this is very important that the gas flow in and out of the cylinder will increase, and which in turn will result in turbulence and convective heat transfer mode. So, this increases the heat transfer occurring during intake and exhaust strokes. So, this is important. So, higher the speed, higher will be the convective heat transfer, because higher will be the turbulence. This is very important. And if we go back, perhaps I have not seen that coolant here, this heat loss is basically Q dot is equal to area into enthalpy, area into enthalpy into T W minus T coolant. So, this is the heat loss to the surroundings, where H is the convective heat transfer coefficient. So, we have seen higher, so higher engine speed will increase higher heat loss, that is true. Number 3 is also very important, that load, and as the load of the engine is increased, like uphill and pulling a trailer, throttle must be opened further to keep engine speed constant. So, that means when an engine is upfilling or it is pulling a trailer, we need to open the throttle area. So, this is load. So, number 3 is load, that if we have an engine and if the engine is upfilling or engine is pulling a trailer, that means load is increased. So, we need to open throttle valve essentially to maintain the speed constant. This causes less pressure drop across the throttle and higher pressure density of the intake system. So, mass flow rate of the air will increase, therefore, mass flow rate of air fuel therefore goes up with the load at a given speed, and heat transfer also will goes up. So, that means if increase load, So, increase load, heat transfer will be higher. That means, if we increase load, that is what I was telling, that if engine are filling, or if it is pulling a trailer, then we need to open the throttle valve, wide open throttle valve to maintain the speeds constant, pressure drop will decrease, there will be increment in the mass flow rate of the air and fuel goes up, which in turn will increase the heat transfer on the engine, because Q dot. So, Q dot, since Q dot is equal to H into A into delta T. So, this is very important, and there are so many other factors like spark timing, fuel equivalence ratio, and evaporative cooling or injection. So, these are the, I mean, if we supply more amount of coolant, of course, heat transfer will increase like this. And if we have seen that the equivalence ratio, that means if it is a lean or rich air, so there will be greatest heat loss. Heat losses are when this is also when greatest heat losses occur, engine runs either leaner or richer. That means, for equivalence ratio 1, that is the maximum possible heat transfer. If we somehow increase the leaner or richer mixture, then lower losses, when greatest heat loss will occur when mixture becomes richer and leaner. So, we have discussed about today the injection system in a spark ignition engine. Then we have discussed about the what is the heat distribution, and what is the amount of heat we need to transfer from the engine, essentially to save the cylinder out of excessive heating or to the melting phenomenon of the engine cylinder. Then we have identified there are two different modes, I mean there are three different modes of heat transfer, like convection, conduction, radiation. While convection and convections are important, and we have seen by how we can remove heat from the engine cylinder, either by using a water supplying water or air as a coolant. So, that is water cooled engine and air cooled engine. Also, we have discussed about the effect of engines operating variables, how they influence the heat transfer from the engine cylinder. So, with this I stop here today, and I will continue my discussion in the next class with the topic of injection system on the CI engine, and then some different other aspects are related to internal combustion engine. Okay, thank you.